All right, Unit 8 retest review. First question, we're finding the product. So this 2x squared in the front multiplies each term on the inside of the parentheses. Here we go. 2x squared times 5x squared. Well, the 2 and the 10 multiply to 10. Sorry, the 2 and the 5 multiply to 10. And then we've got x squared times x squared. We add up those little 2's up there and we get to the fourth power. 2x squared times negative 2x cubed. We get a negative 4 with our coefficients out front. And then x to the power of, let's see, 2 plus 3 is 5. And then 2x squared times 1 is just still a positive 2x squared. Now, sometimes you can combine like terms. We decide based on our variables and exponents. So since I've got a 4 and a 5 and a 2, those are not the same, and we have to leave it as is. Do not combine. Problem number 2. We're doing the same thing, except this looks a little bit different. I'm going to make it look like problem 1 because I thought that was fairly simple. We're going to do the negative 7x out front, the x squared minus 2x plus 5 inside the parentheses. All right. Negative 7x times x squared gives me a negative 7x to the power of, please don't forget this has a little 1 right there that we don't have to write, but that does make it 3 when we multiply. Negative 7x times negative 2x will be a positive 14 with my coefficients, and x times x does give me x squared. Finally, negative 7x times 5 gives me a negative 35, and since I had an x out front, I still have an x here when I'm done. These are not like terms, so we cannot combine them. We just finished there. Okay. Problem 3 and problem 4 are our box method type multiplying because we've got 2 groups of parentheses. Problem 3, the key here is to remember that x minus 5 squared is really x minus 5 times itself x minus 5. All right, you cannot just distribute that square. That will give you the completely wrong answer. So now that we have x minus 5 times x minus 5, I think most of my students prefer doing the box method, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to set this up with the box. Okay, here's my box. I've got x with a negative 5, and I've got another x with another negative 5, and we're going to find the product of those numbers inside. X times x is x squared. Negative 5 times x will be a negative 5x. Again, negative 5 times x is a negative 5x. And then negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25. So I've got x squared minus 5x plus 25. Okay, that's a 2. We can combine like terms, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to combine these 2 like terms that are in the middle. Okay, so I end up with x squared in the front, but then a minus 10x in the middle, and then that plus 25 at the ends. And that's it. All right, problem 4 is the same stuff, and they already have it all nice and set up for us. So we're going to make our box, and we're going to have an x with a positive 9 and an x with a negative 9. All right, we're multiplying inside. We're getting x squared, positive 9x, negative 9x, and the negative 9 times 9. Please make sure you're multiplying here, and you're getting negative 81. Okay, so I've got x squared plus 9x minus 9x minus 81. Now, as I'm sure some of y'all have noticed, these 2 terms in the middle add up to 0, which means that when we combine, we actually don't need these terms, and we do just get x squared minus 81. Okay. The last problem here on the front is an area problem. They even have a nice picture drawn for you. Remember, guys, area of a rectangle, hopefully we all know that area of a rectangle is just length times width. So I'm just going to be multiplying these 2 expressions. Okay, so I've got 5x minus 3 times 3x minus 2, length times width. All right, so here is my box. I've got a 5x up top and a negative 3. A 3x over here with a negative 2, and now I just get to multiply. All right, 5x times 3x is 15x squared. Negative 3 times 3x is negative 9x. 5x times Negative 2 will be a negative 10x. And finally there in the last box, we're multiplying negative times negative, getting a positive 6. So I've got 15x squared minus 9x minus 10x plus 6. These two like terms in the middle get added up, and I get 15x squared minus 19x plus 6. Notice that when we added these terms in the middle, we did not change the exponent. And that's my final answer here. Okay, flip this over to the, and we see that on the back, guys, this whole entire back side, we are factoring. So we're doing the complete opposite of the front side of this paper. Remember, the first question we ask ourselves when we do these problems is there a greatest common factor? Is there something that I can take out before I even get started to make my life easier? So in the first problem, we've only got two terms here, and I notice that I've got a 5 and a 30. So my greatest common factor, right, both of those numbers can be divided by 5. And they also both have x. They don't have x squared, both of them, so we can't use that. All right, so that goes out here in the front. And we figure out what's left over. So we kind of divide here and figure out what's left over. So we're going to have an x left in this first part. These x's cancel, though, and then we get a minus 6. Okay, so I don't have any more x squared terms, so that's as far as I can go here. I am done. Problem 7. In this problem, we check for a GCF. We don't have one because all the terms do not have x, and there's no common numbers in the front. So we move on. Hopefully y'all notice or maybe remember that because this number in the front is just a 1, like there's no other number written there, then our answer, we should kind of be able to go straight to this factored form. Right? What's the only way to get this x squared term? How do we get x squared when we multiply? It's pretty much just x times x. Now the name of the game here is just to find those other numbers that go in these remaining spots here. Okay? Now to do this, remember, they have to multiply to the end number, in this case positive 12. The same two numbers have to add up to positive 7. Okay, that's an A. So what times another number is going to give me 12, but those same two numbers when I add them give me 7. If this is hard for you, always make a list for this number here. Like how can I multiply and get 12 and just start with 1. 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4, 4 times, okay, I already have 4, so I am finished. All right, which of those? They all multiply to 12. Which of those pairs add up to 7? Right? It's got to be that last one. So I'm using 3 and 4. All right, multiply to 12, add up to 7. They're both positive, so plus 3 and plus 4. And this right here is my answer. Okay, on a side note, if you did the box method with what we just wrote, it should come back out to this original one. All right, we are moving on to question number 8. You guys, question number 8 is by far, hands down, the most complicated question on this retest. So if you feel good about question number 8, you are in fantastic shape. What makes this problem so hard is this 6 right here in the front. All right, when it was just 1, like we did just before this one, it's pretty simple. This 6 makes it a lot harder. We have to find two numbers that when we multiply don't just give us this negative 2, but we actually are looking at the product of A times C. So in this case, 6 times negative 2, which is negative 12. All right, we're still looking at B, which is 1x, so just 1. And we're trying to find two numbers. The two numbers have to multiply to negative 12, and the same two numbers have to add up to 1. In this case, the only two numbers that are going to do this are going to be a positive 4 and a negative 3. All right, a positive 4 and a negative 3 multiply to positive 12, but when we add, give us that negative 3. So what do we do with these two numbers? Well, if you guys will recall, we go back to this original trinomial we started with. We keep the ends. So I'm going to keep the 6x squared, and I'm going to keep the minus 2. But in the middle now, I'm going to use these two numbers I just came up with. So I'm going to say minus 3x and a plus 4x. It doesn't matter what order you wrote those middle terms in. I just picked the one that looked best to me. And now we're going to make groups. So I'm going to have this first group here and the second group here. So if I look at this first one, 6x squared and 3x, my GCF, my greatest common factor would be a 3x. All right, so if we take out the 3x, what's left is going to be a 2x, right? Because if I did multiply 3x times 2x, I would get 6x squared. And then it's got to be, how do I make a 3x into a minus 3x? We'll just do a negative 1. Right, guys? If I multiply 3x times negative 1, don't I get that negative 3x? I do. All right, now we're going to repeat the same thing with the second group. I've got a 4x minus 2. My greatest common factor for this is going to be a positive 2, right? Since that last term doesn't have x, I can't use x with my GCF. Okay, what's left over? Well, it's got to be a 2x, right? That's because 2 times 2x would give me that 4x. And then I want a minus 2. So 2 times what is negative 2? Just a negative 1. All right. Now notice, you see how in here I have 2x minus 1? And in my other group I have 2x minus 1. That is definitely supposed to happen. So I'm ready to write my two groups for my answer. One of the groups is this matching term, like this matching expression here. So why don't we put that over here, 2x minus 1. The other group are my greatest common factors, my numbers that are on the outside right now. So that would be this 3x and this positive 2. So 3x and this positive 2. Okay, and that is my final answer. Guys, if this problem is super confusing, remember you can only get an 80 on the retest anyway. So as long as you're good for the other problems, you should still be okay. I know that was a lot. Problem number 9 says factor x squared minus 4. I think your best bet on this one is to just see which one of the answers it could possibly be. You can do the box method for all of these, or you could FOIL them. I'm going to FOIL these here real quick. So that will be x squared. X times 2x would be a positive 2x. Negative 2 times x would be a minus 2x. And a negative 2 times 2 would be a negative 4. I'm going to combine these two terms in the middle, which actually add up to 0. Which means I've just got x squared minus 4. And that's what I started with, guys. That's my answer. That's what I wanted. If you do just kind of want to double check on this next one, we would get x squared minus 2x minus 2x plus 4. Okay, well, that's the wrong sign. I know this is wrong. And the last one, my first term is negative 2x squared. Okay, again, not what I needed. It can't be that. All right, so it was A. Last but not least, we are looking at an area problem, but we're looking at it a little bit differently. We actually already have the area here, right? It tells me the area is this expression, x squared minus 11x plus 30. We also know the length is x minus 5. They're asking us what is the width. I'm going to draw a picture because I love pictures. It tells me that the length is x minus 5. I don't know the width. But I know that my area inside is x squared minus 11x plus 30. All right? We're gonna do kind of a roundabout way here of solving this thing. We know that length times width is area. So x minus 5 times something, right? One of these answer choices is going to give me the x squared minus 11x plus 30. Well, we can look at all of our answer choices, or we know that the only way to get x squared over here, this has just got to be an x. So really the name of the game is just what number goes here, right? The way that makes the most sense in my head is to think, well, I know that the last number here, the negative 5, whenever I multiply times this number, because neither of these terms have an x, that always produces this number over here that doesn't have x. So negative 5 times what would give me positive 30, right? All right, well, hopefully you know your times tables well enough to know that's got to be negative 6, right? Negative 5 times negative 6 is positive 30. So my missing term was x minus 6. All right, guys, this is the end of the review. Make sure you ask questions if you have them. You can watch this video as many times as you need to before you are ready. And good luck.